Hi, you're listening to the Hylton Times podcast. I'm your host, Marjolein, and this week I'm joined by Hylton Henry. Hi, Hylton.
Hello, Marjolein.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to me tonight.
No problem.
We are actually speaking at the Aith Lifeboat station.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, which is very relevant to this week's episode. Can you briefly introduce yourself, please, Hylton?
Yeah, I'm Hylton Henry. I'm the coxswain at the lifeboat here at Aith. Been so for the last 28 years. Born and bred in Aith, brought up here, worked here most of my life. So, yeah, just an Aith boy.
A fine Henry man.
A fine Henry man, yeah.
Because I'm Henry on my granny's side.
That's right, right.
I think we're second cousins.
Second cousins, yeah.
I just carry on the tradition of bringing family members on the podcast.
That's right, yeah. Good.
But I was wanting to speak to you because you have some amazing stories. Because, you said you've been coxswain for 20 years. So
28.
28, sorry. I think
it's the full coxswain. I took over for me father in 1990 is when he retired first, and I took over for him. So
when did he become coxswain?
Well, he was coxswain for 19 years, but he was always on the lifeboat. We were young boys. We would hear the telephone going in the middle of the night, and this was the lifeboat being called. And then when he became coxswain, we were still young boys, so we were doing aboard the boat with him.
Yeah, I heard Dad said you were... What age were you when you first went out on the boat?
Oh, well, training and exercises, we were 10 years old. I mind them being short of mine, and the old man had a fishing boat, so that's where we learned a lot of the boat side of stuff. And he was off in the bay when they needed the lifeboat, so I was 15, they grabbed me.
Oh, because your dad was off fishing?
Yeah, and then took me out and they swapped me for him on his boat and pointed me off in the right direction home in the dark. I hope that I got there, and I did, so it was a good experience.
How was the weather that night?
That was a lovely night, thankfully,
okay.
Yeah. No, it was easy done. So.
That's amazing.
But, so we're Kevin as well, he served engineer with me on the boat for, well, he was slightly longer than me, 30 odd years. So.
Yeah.
So it's been a kind of a family connection.
Yeah, and how did your mum feel when you're going out when you're younger? Did she cane every time?
What would happen would be if it was a bad night and that, then the old man wouldn't attack me or Kevin sometimes if it was really bad, just in case something gets wrong.
Yeah.
Like at Orkney when they lost the lifeboat there were lots of the same families that was lost, so it was a kind of unwritten rule. You can't, if it was a stinky night, you probably weren't going to go with him. But you never thought about it when you were leaving. It's only when you're ashore sometimes in the raft there that you think, well, what are they going through and all that, and you realise the worry that especially my three lasses was. I mind watching them one night as the pager get off, it was a flying girl for the southwest, and you could see in their eyes that they really wouldn't want me to go, but they accepted it, and they told me after it hurt them and they didn't enjoy it at all.
No,
so.
I suppose because so many of the call-outs will be in absolutely atrocious weather. So.
Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it's a beautiful day. You can go out with sunglasses on, but there's sometimes it's a very humbling place to be.
Do you think that as well, with your dad taking you out, did you know from a young age you wanted to work on a lifeboat as well?
Never entered my head that I would ever end up as a coxswain.
Really? When did you start working?
Well, I started doing, the lifeboat itself, we could only really go at 16, we were parents' permission. So,
okay.
But when the new they got the Iron class lifeboat in 1986, and they were many ahead of me I was only 23, they were many ahead of me that should have been doing the coxswain's job, but either all health or no one to take the responsibility came down that they put my name forward. So,
really?
So, but it was different in them days. My driving test was going up with the inspector and telling the old man in his boat and showing him how I could work the boat. And that was me passed out as a coxswain at that stage.
So that was what age was that? 26, did you say?
No, 23.
23.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then the old man, he was a prudential insurance agent, so he was away out collecting monies and that. So most of the time I was doing the covering back here. And
okay.
Well, I would have to check with him that he was going to be home before I could go to the place, because he was had to be here to make sure somebody was to go with the boat. So.
Okay.
That was the hardest thing about the job, would be being tied here, because you had to be within 5 minutes the station, at least 5 minutes. So you could sort of the crew and find out what was going on, get away as quick as you could.
Do you actually time that, like with fucking fire service? Do you time your distance back to the house there?
Well, yeah, you just have a good idea. You can how far you can really go or what you do. Whether you're having a bath or a shower or whatever, you had to have your pager next to you. And it was 24/7. You relied upon volunteers that had jobs of their own to give you cover so that you could get your time off. But lots of times you just had to accept the fact that you could not. And I suppose it wasn't so hard for me, but the bairns, if there were things on and they wanted to go to and you couldn't actually get to do it, then they suffered a bit. But again, family helped it and did what they could. So. Because I wouldn't have been able to do the job if it hadn't been for the community, because I became a single parent back in '94 as well. So. And I was just going full time with the lifeboat, and it was a job that you weren't physically needing to be at the station at the time. It's just you were on call the whole time.
Yeah, so you might need to go at the moment's notice.
But then you had neighbours, and you can't that they would step in as soon as the lifeboat was gone. So it was a great community thing. Yeah,
and it still is out that way.
It is, yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It has changed a lot in the time that I'm here. The health and safety has eventually reached into the institution as well. So.
Oh, really?
Though the job has always been about risk assessments and making sure they don't trust us now, so they're teaching us how to do it.
And no more going off of 10-year-olds.
No, you can't. No, it's just not going to happen.
I assume though that ignited your spark and made you really get into it as well, though.
With the job?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. I suppose it's the biggest adrenaline rush anybody could ever have sometimes.
Yeah. You must have had some amazing moments underwater as well. Yeah.
There's been some. We tried to mix humour in as best we could with it. But yeah, no, it's been, as I said, humbling. Some waves that probably 70 feet high.
Really?
And higher probably as well in some places. But it's satisfying if you do help somebody. And they thank you and they genuinely mean it.
Yeah.
That's a buzz in itself, but it's a commitment. It's more as a job.
Yeah. What's the furthest you've actually been out?
Well, 40 miles north of Shetland was where we ended up searching once. And we were once doing 23 miles off a start point in Orkney.
Really?
Fetching a canoe that a helicopter had picked up the body, but the canoe was still drifting, so we had to go and pick it up for the location.
I never even thought about it. How many lifeboat stations are there in Orkney?
There's 3 in Orkney and 2 in Shetland. And that search, one for Orkney and one for Lerwick did the first initial search.
Okay.
And then when they started running low on fuel, they part Wiz and Stromness to go and search. It was actually our gala day here as well, so we were away the whole day. It was, I think, 8 o'clock at night before we got back. So,
Day's gala is always brilliant. That's the times I've been on the.
It is fantastic how in 3 hours so much money can be raised by the community and the whole of the west side. It's so well supported.
Yeah, it's huge as well.
Olden days it used to be better when you could pile a lot of bairns on the boat and take them for a trip, and everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. Because when did you get the boat? When did you get the boat that you have now?
We got her in 1998.
Yeah, because I mind when she first came for the gal and Dirk got to go on her and go really fast. And he came back and told us all about it.
Yeah.
I was so jealous that my brother got to go on a trip.
No, certainly. It was much better when you could do that. But again, health and safety, and it clamps down on everybody's fun.
Yeah, so is there if you're joining new, is there quite a lengthy training process? Just to be crew or?
Yeah, a lot of training goes into it. There's a competency-based training where they have units that they have to show that they're competent in. So initially, if you're not been used with boats, then they train you right from scratch.
Oh, right. So someone wanted to do it, but they've never had experience.
Then they would certainly put you through all the training that you needed. So, but a lot of the boys that we have is working on boats as well. So I mean, you kind of teach them.
It's not like a harder to teach them.
Well, everybody does it their own ways. As long as they're safe, that's the main thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's true. But you were also, what year were you decorated in?
That was in 1996. We got a vellum for towing in a Norwegian boat. We had it towed, I think, 9.5 hours.
Wow. Where was that from?
She was a Norwegian. She was 35 miles northeast of Shetland. And so she was, I think, about 10 times the weight that we were. It was just a case of the amount of rope. It was just a monotonous, long day. We'd have to stop every now and again and adjust the rope so there wasn't a chaffing through. Because I forgot to take my rubber boots to get outside for it. To pass water out the side of the boat, and she rolled over and get right up to my knees. So I spent the whole day with weak feet. But yeah, it passed.
So where did you get that? Did you go down to London?
No, we did a thing in the hall here.
Oh, so you did a ceremony up here?
And that same year we got a letter for the chairman saying that we were doing a good job taking in one of the local fishing boats and putting her into Scotland. So.
Oh, really? Oh, was that towing her as well?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's good. It's good as well getting recognition because you genuinely save lives out there.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what you hope that you can do.
Yeah.
Lots of times that you're just too late and you can't do anything you can. But
yeah.
It's rewarding when you do.
It must be really hard when you can't.
Yeah, the hardest one is kind of when to stop, like, because unless you have a conclusion to it, then it always it's the hardest decision to make again.
And does that come from the Coxswain or?
Most of the time, we certainly have a big input to it.
Yeah.
So.
And does that come from shore as well?
Yeah, we keep in contact with the Coast Guard at the time.
Okay.
And they listen to what we say, and we try to listen to what they say sometimes. But now it's a good working relationship between, especially the helicopter at Sumbra, because they do a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, Oscar Charlie.
Yeah.
Do you train alongside the helicopter too?
Yeah.
Like winching and things?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the olden days, you used to be able to get friends lifted. If you put them in a lifeboat oil skins, then they could get lifted up. You can, but
really?
Yeah, but that days is actually gone again. Health and safety has stepped in once more.
Oh, okay.
But no, we still train. It's more organised now. They used to fly past and you could shout them on the radio and they would come and play, winch somebody up and down. But now you have to organise it 3 weeks ahead before you can actually get them. So.
No, but it's still good you can do that. I love watching them train as well when they come right in over. So you've been off of Orkney with a lifeboat. You must know the sea in Shetland. Well, Dad actually said, ask Hylton about any part of Shetland, he'll know about the waters.
Well, yeah, the west side certainly. We have, back in '96 when we had the heavy snow, we had to leave Aid and go around northwise to Lerwick. and pick up.
Oh, around on? Well, not
Well,
around
no,
on,
we
but
get
around the
up
north.
Yell,
Yeah, you don't need to go. It's because of islands.
Come down through Hylton and we come into Lerwick and loaded her up with 2 tons of coal on the foredeck. There were 14 gas bottles strapped to the side.
Wow.
In the front hatch, they just filled with food supplies and toilet papers and the welfare. There was a bairn in West Burford that was needing supplies as well, so
Yeah.
and they came and get waste supplies for them. And then there were some folk for aid that's been stuck in Lerwick for 2 or 3 days, so
Those poor fuck.
we got them aboard as well.
Oh, brilliant. That's amazing that they got. Was that 95?
95.
That winter, 95, 96, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Big snow.
Yeah.
And then we come back around the south end and get up into Wise and picked up medicines. And get for there to Papa Store, dropped off the medicine there, and then back to West Burford, picked up some folk for there, and then get around to Brindiston and dropped off the supplies to the family that had the baby that needed stuff.
That's amazing.
And then we got back here at 2 in the morning, and the whole village was doing with shovels clearing the snow off the pier so they could get out of the gear off. So and then the next day we were delivering bread. So that's wide and varied jobs that you would get to go to. So.
Yeah, but I suppose, and it makes so much sense because when you can't drive over land, and you want to find time most of the travelling Shetland was by sea.
Absolutely. In the olden days, the lifeboats did a lot of that work as well. Far more is now. The helicopters reduced.
Oh yeah, of course. It must have been really touching to come in though at 2 in the morning and see our body.
See our body standing there. It's like a chain gang going down the pier.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be an amazing trip too. What time did you head off if you got back to?
I think it was something like 10 in the morning or something like that. So.
That's a long day.
Yeah, we got marinated herring for the Lerwick Coxswain. He was gotten off of a Norwegian boat, so he'd marinated herring coming back around.
When you find yourself going off to sea for long periods of time though, do you find yourself just running on adrenaline? Or do you find yourself...
Yeah, well, the longest and the worst time was just before bedtime if you had shop. We got to go one night at 5 o'clock. Lerwick Lifeboat had been up beside a trawler that had run aground at Cullivo.
Okay.
And he'd been lying there 24 hours or something. They were tried pulling him off and they couldn't. So they asked if we would go up and tack over for them. So, which we duly did. And they got one of the Serene to come for Qualsa.
Oh yeah.
So she was going to take the boat off whatever happened. But we had a time passing ropes and putting men on board because they had to reduce the weight. And then we had to get the men off, 7 of the men off and left 3 on just in case it sank when they pulled it off. And then the rope snapped 3 times, so we had to go and pick up the rope for the shoreline and get it back to the trawler and get new stuff put on again. So it took a long time. I think it was 6 in the morning they eventually got it pulled off.
Yeah.
So we left there and we were coming back into aid. Then Coxswain said there were another boat ashore at Scalwa. So one of the boys was a teacher and we dropped him off here and picked up fuel for Wiz and set off down to Scalwa. And it was the same insurance agent that get aboard at Cullivo. We had to put him aboard the second boat, so he was had no sleep either.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I never thought you'd have to be there too.
So, and I think it was something like 8 o'clock at night by the time we got that one back inside the pier and all that. So I think it was 28 hours we had been.
28 hours.
28 hours in total.
With no rest.
No.
That's amazing.
You were shattered at the end, though.
Yeah.
But it's not like if you were doing it every second day, then you would be really.
Yeah.
It's not always you can.
Yeah. And do you even think about what time is passing when you're doing it?
Not really, no. You're just really concentrating on what you're doing and making sure what you're doing is sense. But no, usually. I have seen sometimes like that you just nearly collapse. Well, we would be out searching probably again coming on to 24 hours and we were coming back in. It was late at night it began, so I was just absolutely shattered. I said, give me a shout when I come to the pier and I left, and the other boys at the quill. First thing I kept was them rattling my feet. They were tied up, fueled up, and ready for service again.
So you're fast
So I was just out for the cunt. I don't know how long I'd stayed there if they'd left me.
It's good enough until you sleep for a bit. Oh, show them they could do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any favourite moments at sea?
Yeah, but the whole time was a favourite moment.
Yeah.
I just loved doing what we got the chance to do. I feel fortunate that we did. Both me and Kevin. And it was fine working with a crew that you can't so long as well, because you didn't have to tell them anything. They were all doing what they needed to do. And it was the odd time that somebody had to make a final decision, and that would be left into you. But yeah, no, they're more sad times as happy times, I would have said.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things was you couldn't make it a different state. You can.
I suppose when you work in would you call it like an emergency service?
Yeah,
search and rescue. That's going to be mostly folk in distress and in danger.
Yeah, a lot of them you can as well.
Yeah.
Which made it more difficult. You can. And a lot of them, you could torment them. I minded me. He turned me free, needed me to come and get him a tow in the sand. So I was coming up the wall, I was tooting my horn as loud as I could, so that everybody could see him. They were phoning him saying, why was the lifeboat tooting the horn? So the next thing he phones me and gives me a ballycoon for
embarrassing him.
It's just one of the things you couldn't have helped do.
Yeah. And how would you recommend folk to get involved? Because I suppose another thing with Lifeboat is there's so many ways you can be involved, because there's actually volunteering on Lifeboat, but fundraising, and then also there's always a look for folk to be in the committees for raising money as well, isn't there?
The fundraising, always people look for the gala organising. Anybody that want to organise any kind of fundraising for it.
Yeah. And that's Ned and Larwick as well, because
yeah.
it's Larwick one too.
Yeah. And there's anybody that would be interested in being on the crew, you can, or shows any interest at all, we would certainly encourage them. If you want, just contact the station. As I say, the training will be given. The only thing is that you have to be within a certain radius, or you end up that you didn't get any shouts.
Yeah.
Because that was difficult for some of them that just on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Especially even in the night time, we were going within 10 minutes. So.
Really? Wow. And how many folk is on?
There are about 20 on the list, on the team.
Okay. And then who go off on the boat? Is it?
Well, it depends if it's through the day. A lot of that mine is working elsewhere, so I mind having to take the old man out of retirement.
Really?
Yeah, he'd been retired 10 years. They were about wind up, so they were in a rush, but we didn't have enough men really to do it. So I phoned him up and asked if he would come. So he agreed. And we got on remarkably well.
So did you think he was delighted that he got to go again?
Well, yeah, totally. But it's like everything else he would do it his way, and I would do it my way. I was coming in, we were going to tie out the boat up alongside. You have to go in alongside the boat and lash in so that you can get them. So I said I was going to get down this side of him. No, the old man thought the other side.
You have to remind me of your cock.
And I thought, how am I going to sort this one? So I spoke to the skipper of the boat and asked what side he wanted alongside the pier, and that answered the question.
Diplomatic.
Well, it was the only way to do it. Like, nobody was offended. So.
Yeah, because that would have been was that the first time you were coxswain and your dad was no?
Yeah, well, it would have been the first time, because usually if he was on the boat, he would have been the coxswain.
Yeah.
So he was actually under me that time. I winded them up as we were coming into Skull. I said that we'd phoned ashore and we'd organised food. So I said that we were getting 5 king rib suppers for the jug shop. he just blew a gasket because he could not hit a king rib if he wanted to. It was just a lie, it was 5 fish suppers. But I got a reaction out of him.
Oh, well, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
No, that's no problem.
I'd love to hear even more stories. But that was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. No bother at all.
Thank you, and thank you for listening.